Just look at how cool this little car is. So this is a Renault Wind. It's essentially a Renault Twingo convertible. It's got this hood that flips back 180 degrees and it just looks so cool. Look, this black on black color scheme. It's got the whole black interior. I got the wheels done completely black. They were kind of a two-tone from the factory in this Dynamic S trim, but yeah, I think it looks really cool. Now the Wind came along in 2010 to a rather unreceptive audience. It was a bit of a niche car. The concept car came along in 2004. This didn't reach production until 6 years later, so it kind of came along to a market that wasn't really expecting it and didn't think it was going to happen. Now Renault made a huge thing about the roof. The ad campaign was sex cells, S-E-C-S, seconds cells. And so the roof, you unlatch it, you've got the handbrake on, it flips back in 12 seconds. It's actually really nifty how it works. And once it folds back into that, the luggage space is uncompromised. It's a really neat little package. Unfortunately, it only lasted in the UK for 2 years. It was canned in 2012 when Renault had their cull of the Modus, the Laguna, the Espace. The Wind got the axe as well, which was sad at the time, something that was so different. A lot of effort went into it. It was something really quirky, but now it's really good. Future classic status for sure. There's not too many of these things left. Values are low. Buy one while you can. Now the roof is operated with this central toggle switch here. You must be stopped and you must have the handbrake on. It is a 180 flip back roof, so yeah, I can see why they did that, otherwise you might lose a rather important aspect of the car. You gotta release this little handle here by twisting it, then you're good to go. And because the roof flips back into what is effectively the boot lid, your luggage space is totally uncompromised whether the roof's up or down. Just the lid's a little heavier to lift when the roof's in there. Now it's 28 degrees here in Belfast today, and one thing I will say about this car, every ounce of it is black, and I'm so at high speed, yeah, there's a great wind flow through it, but when you're sitting still, because you've got this up behind you, you've got the windscreen right here, you're relying on the cross breeze, and if you like a draft around you in a convertible, well, you're gonna get a sticky back in the wind as I am right now. So given the fact that this car was based on the Twingo's underpinnings, you've got a key to start it as opposed to a key card. You've got reliable electric windows, simple reliable electronics, so the Wind really does have a winning formula. It's totally future-proof, unlike a Megane CC. Lifted directly from the Twingo and the wing mirrors. That theme continues inside. In here will be very familiar to Twingo owners and Renault owners over the past decade. It's all pretty much parts bin, tried and tested stuff, which really is no bad thing. And because of this, most engine and mechanical parts will be relatively easy got and cheap enough. However, when you drive something a little bit different, you've always got to budget a little extra time and effort for certain specific things to the model. For example, this car needed a rear coil spring. None of my local factories even knew what a Renault Wind was, let alone wanted to find me a suspension spring. And so I had to go to Renault and wait 3 days for it to come from France. Familiar key. But there are a few cool little touches unique to the Wind, such as these little leather straps to pull the door shut with. It's got these hilariously thin, I don't know, I can't really get across how ridiculously flimsy and thin these sun visors are. The instrument cluster is totally unique to the Wind. It's got the trip computer at the bottom that you flick through with the usual button on the end of the wiper stalk. It's got the CD player with auxiliary in and Bluetooth. This climate control panel will look very familiar from owners of the old Megane 2. These are the electric window controls as well. This Dynamic S model is really well equipped. It's got automatic headlights and wipers. It's got cruise control with a speed limiter. Renault Sport pedals. Now the ride is, well, it's definitely biased towards sporty, nifty driving rather than comfort. The big wheels on this car do make it quite firm, but the trade-off is that it's really fun. You get a country road, you can make the most of that little turbocharged petrol engine. It's fantastic, and with the roof down there's not too much scuttle shake. Certainly not as much as you get in a Megane CC anyway. You get a bit of movement around the top of the windscreen, but I mean, that roof really doesn't consist of much, so they had to strengthen the car without relying on that. And then when you're parking up, the roof is literally as quick as putting up a window. Yeah. Done. It's fantastically nippy around town. It's got that wheel at each corner stance, so yeah, visibility isn't great. You've got this little letterbox rear window, but you know where everything's at because it's such a nifty little package. Now it's a Twingo chassis, tweaked by Renault Sport. You had a choice of a 1.2 TCE or a 1.6 VVT petrol engine. This is the 1.2 TCE, which I haven't tried the 1.6, but I gotta say, this thing is fantastic. Little peppy engine, 100 big horsepower, that turbo kicks in nicely, snappy gearbox. I don't see why you'd have the 1.6 and give yourself the added problems of the defeaser pulley and things like that. It's got this snappy little gearbox. The steering's a bit numb, but that's the usual Renault electric steering feel. You can't help but wonder if inspiration for that name came from a little too much cheese at the Renault office lunch. Perhaps the room filled with a certain intestinal gas and inspiration was found. I also think they should have made that the exhaust pipe in the middle. That would have been pretty cool. Instead it's a reverse light. Still looks really neat. Let's time it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh. It's quicker than they said. I absolutely love the driving position in this thing. Now, I'm 5'10", so maybe anyone taller than that, you're going to have the roof down all the time. But when you're in here, you've got this kind of high up steering wheel, the seats sit low down, you've got the high up window line, this comes up here, the windscreen is steeply rigged, you've got these chunky A-pillars, it's got these real chunky bolsters on the seats which really hold you in. The little tiny rear windscreen, it feels like you're sitting in a shoe. It's fantastic. love driving this thing. I find I've got a smile on my face constantly. It's so much fun. It encapsulates the cheekiness of the Twingo and gives it this certain edge that just makes it so much more likable. It's such a fun little colour. Okay, I gotta get down low to show you a few things unique to the Wind, because I only discovered this while I was hoovering the car the other day, and it's good info for anyone who has a Renault Wind who might want to check under here to see if you have heated seats. Look where this switch is. Like, my god, I wrote the spec list for the advert for this car completely omitting heated seats. I was hoovering it and there's the switch, so yeah, you might want to check that. Also, the electric mirror controls and the traction control button right at the bottom of the dash there. So yeah, cool pedals though. Renault Sport chrome pedals, nice. Right, get back up. Now the chassis, as I said, was helped develop by Renault Sport. They took the Twingo chassis and tweaked it a little. You've got a stabilizer bar in the boot which hints at that. I gotta say, it's a real nippy little thing. This 1.2 TCE is more than enough. Yeah, the 1.6 might give you a bit more motorway oomph, kind of low down torque, but that's not what this car is about. This car is a 2010 model with 42,000 miles on it. It's done 42,000 miles in 11 years, and that's, you know, they're never going to be the main car for someone. They're for pottering around town, enjoying days like this. And the 1.2 TCE is perfectly suited to that. And yeah, unfortunately, there's no direct place in my life for it right now to justify keeping this particular car, but you know, in a few years' time, hopefully when I can afford that beautiful chateau in France that you fly out to every now and then, this is just the perfect car to have out there, to use to take to the boulangerie to get your baguette, stick the roof down, enjoy those little French meandering roads, and this will just be perfect for that. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to live with it every day. It's not practical. It's not soft enough around town, but there's something so different about it. Everywhere I've been, it's attracted admiring glances. A few people have even asked what it is. Given the limited numbers and how short the production run was in the UK, and this really signified the last kind of mad car before Renault went as mundane as they have recently. It's definitely going to be a future classic. We're going to see these in 10-20 years time and think, wow, that really was a cool little car that really shouldn't have made it to production. And I have to wonder, are we ever going to be able to say that about anything that Renault makes ever again? Which is really sad. And Renault, next time you name a car, maybe check it doesn't loosely translate as fart.